Welcome to Hannity, and this is a Fox News Alert, and we are broadcasting tonight from the 193rd Special Operations Wing at the Air National Guard Base in Middletown, Pennsylvania, where earlier today, President Trump, he took his message directly to you, the American people, by giving a major speech on his Reagan-esque tax cuts and his tax reform plan. Now, right before that speech, the president joined us for an exclusive interview. We discussed his tax proposal, the fake news media, the NFL's national anthem controversy, the Russia investigation, and so much more. Let's take a look. How are you, Mr. President?
I'm very good. Thank you, Sean.
My second interview since you've been president. You guys want to start with good news? We do have some good news.
Go ahead.
Right? You don't get a lot of good news in the media.
Well, you don't get so much.
The market's up 25% since you were won. You tweeted this out that nobody in the media brings it up, so I said, you know what, I'm going to bring it up tonight. $5.2 trillion in wealth created. We have the lowest unemployment rate in 16 years. We have the best labor participation rate in 7 years, and the lowest number of people on food stamps in 7 years.
That's right. That's right. That's exactly right. It's going really well. I'm loving it. I'm doing a job for the people, and people are seeing that. And I'm so proud of the $5.2 trillion of increase in the stock market. Now, if you look at the stock market, that's one element, but then we have many other elements. The country, we took it over, it owed $20 trillion. As you know, the last 8 years, they borrowed more than it did in the whole history of our country. So they borrowed more than $10 trillion, right? And yet we picked up $5.2 trillion just in the stock market, possibly picked up the whole thing in terms of the first 9 months, in terms of value. So you could say in one sense, we're really increasing values, and maybe in a sense, we're reducing debt. But we're very honored by it, and we're very, very happy with what's happening on Wall Street.
You came back to Pennsylvania. I know you've been in Wisconsin and Michigan and Ohio and North Carolina, because a lot of people still need opportunity and jobs.
Right,
you're really here. You're going to be talking at length about your economic plan.
That's right.
Let's talk about it.
Okay. Well, first of all, it's a massive tax cut. And, you know, it's a reform, but it's a massive tax cut. Somehow that's... And, you know, when we first introduced it, and for years they talk about tax reform, I said the problem with the word reform, nobody understands what it means. Because reform could mean you're going to raise taxes. This is the largest tax cut in the history of our country. It is incredible. It's going to put people to work. So right now, Sean, we are the highest taxed nation in the world, and we're going to be now down in the lower rung in terms of taxes. A family can get, and a business can get, especially a subchapter S. You know, you're doing different kinds of things with your businesses. Some people run it individually, but you can get as much as a 40% tax reduction. Again, it's the largest tax reduction in the history of our country.
Let's go through it. So, and this is important. I mean, there's no two accountants that can give you the same liability to the government if you give them the same information. That's how complicated the tax code is. You want to drop 7 brackets to 3.
We're going to drop, actually, if you look at it, because we have a 0 bracket, because a lot of people pay 0. So we really have 4, and they had 8. So it's really 8 down to 4. We're cutting it in half. And a lot are taxed below the $12,000 mark and $24,000 mark for a family. They're taxed at 0. After that, it goes to 12% from 15%. And, you know, the Democrats told a very terrible fib. They said that they read the brackets so that the brackets were inverted. And if you read it that way, but that's not the way it goes. And we've been praised for the amount of money, the middle class. This is really what I'm looking for. For the middle class, I call it the working people. And the working people are going to get a massive tax break. And corporations and companies and small companies are going to get large-scale tax relief. And they'll be able to compete with anybody in the world, which is what we need.
You said the corporate rate, which is so important. You said 20% is your max.
So right now we're at 35%, and many corporations are paying 40s and 42, and because they have state taxes and city taxes, and they have taxes so many different directions. You know what they do? They leave the country, and they fire everybody, and they're gone, and they never come back. Now we have companies moving back into the country. We have, you saw last week, auto companies are announcing that they're going to build plants back in the United States. That hasn't happened for years. and they're moving back, and not just because of the tax. This tax is so important, but they're seeing enthusiasm. We have the highest enthusiasm level in 28 years
Consumer
for
confidence.
manufacturing, for all of the different things that we talk about. But for business, basically, it's enthusiasm. Everybody's enthused about our country. So we're very honored by it, and I am really honored by the folks in this room. And by the way, the truckers, we love the truckers, I can tell you. Sure. Happens to be so.
The top 10% pay 70% of the tax bill. The bottom 50% pay 2% of the total income tax rate. Why is there are multinational corporations that have parked trillions of dollars in countries that offer them better tax relief? You're trying to incentivize those trillions to come back here with a low repatriation rate. How low will that be, and how much do you think you can bring back into the United States, and what does it mean?
Okay, so right now you have probably, and nobody knows the exact number because I actually think it's much higher than people understand, but it'll probably be over $3 trillion is outside of our country and our companies, and they just can't get it back. They're trying, but they can't get it back. Number one, it's a bureaucratic mess. Number two, the tax rate is so high it doesn't make sense. So what they do is they invest it in Europe and other places where the money is. And I'll tell you what they do also. They leave the country because the money becomes so much and so valuable to them that they leave the country, our country, to go and get their money. So they leave the country and they fire everybody. Now what we're doing is we're lowering the rate so they can bring it back in. We're giving them a shot to bring all that money. It's all going to come back in. It's going to come back in immediately. It's going to be more than $3 trillion. Probably we're looking at a 10% rate. It may be around that number, maybe a little higher, maybe a little lower, but it's going to be right around that number, probably 10%. And right now what it is 35% plus. Now, who's going to bring money back when you have to pay, by the time you finish, almost half of your money in tax? So
you're never going to bring it back.
So we're going to have that money come back in. It's going to put people to work so fast, and the money itself is going to go to work very fast. And, you know, say what you want about Democrats and Republicans. For years and years, everybody's wanted to do that. You have trillions of dollars outside of our country, offshore, and the Democrats wanted it back. The Republicans wanted it back. Everybody wanted it back, and they couldn't do it. They couldn't get a deal. We're going to do a deal, and we're putting it down as part of our tax cuts.
So a big part of it you've already done, and that is you've ended a lot of the Obama-era regulations, especially in industries like energy and coal.
Right.
There seems to be, you have a very strong commitment. You just recently went forward with Anwar. You've put in place opportunities for the coal mining industry, fracking. We do have an opportunity to be energy independent, and there seems to be millions of high-paying career jobs for people available if that decision is made. How big a part is that for the economic recovery?
Well, I have done so much, and Scott Pruitt, who is in EPA, has done incredibly. You saw yesterday at a news conference on coal, and his whole concept was coal is back. It's back. And the miners are working again.
They're fracking in Pennsylvania?
This isn't a bad area either. Well, as an example, mines are opening in the state of Pennsylvania. And I love this state because I happen to go to college in the state. I know it very well, and I love it.
You also won Pennsylvania, right? Is he going to win Pennsylvania in 2022?
No, by the way, incredible people, incredible state. And I did win Pennsylvania. I worked hard in Pennsylvania. And frankly, I understand what Pennsylvania is about work. These are people that want to work. But we're opening mines. We're opening mines in the state of Pennsylvania. We're opening mines in other places. You know, coal is and I call it clean coal. They have technology today that's so incredible. What they can do with a piece of coal is so incredible. I call it clean coal, but it's one of our great resources. One thing that I'm very proud of, the state of West Virginia, last month, it was one of the highest increases, percentage increases in GDP. The state of Texas beat it. And people are saying, wait a minute, West Virginia just came in second. You know what that's about? That's about cutting regulations and letting the people go and mine. And I was so proud of that because West Virginia's had very tough times. And, you know, they were overwhelmingly, for me, Hillary said she wants to close up industries, and she wants to close up the coal industry. And I'm the opposite. So I'm very proud of that. And Pennsylvania, likewise, very proud.